Hitting.
Welcome back, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and that means another episode of the Weekend Horror Podcast, the only podcast that pairs liver with fava beans and a nice Chianti. Thank you for joining. If I could talk. And thank you for joining us for a live show. And for all our podcast listeners, be sure to check us out so you too can interact directly with the show. This week, we're covering select films released in horror history, June 27th through July 3rd. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Eugene, and with me tonight are Johnny, O, and JL.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going, horror fans?
And it is our pleasure to introduce our special industry guest here to nerd out with some horror film selections, producer and star of Preacher 6, The Chair, and Zombie with a Shotgun, Kyle Hester.
What's up? What's up?
Hey.
First of all, hey guys, I just wanted to say thank you for having me on this. This is awesome. I love like rapping about films and horror, so this is gonna be good times, and glad to be here.
Wait. Did you say you like rapping about films and horrors?
This is music, right? Wow. What?
Wrong show.
Life ain't nothing but bitches and movies.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for taking time out of your what has to be extremely busy schedule to fucking hang out with a bunch of nerds like us.
Hey man, we're all nerds. It's a pleasure to be here.
It really that's what it's all about. It's about being nerds. Of course, make sure the patrons, by the way, you will get early access to the After Dark section where we will take a deeper dive into Kyle's career, upcoming projects, thoughts on all the genre. That'll be in the After Dark. So all you patrons, you'll get early access to that. Make sure you check us out on the old Patreon.
Yes, because they need to hear more about Zombie with a Shotgun.
That there. I want the title alone, right? There are very few zombie films that stop me, and I say I gotta watch that shit.
You know what? You're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it. It's definitely not your average zombie film. So,
yeah, that's perfect.
Fantastic.
That's perfect. It's like when I saw the title. Was it Zombie Strippers? I was like, I have to watch this. I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I have to watch this.
Dude, that's what you got though. You got Zombie Strippers.
Exactly.
But that's like zombies. Okay, because it's a zoo and there's zombies, so I've got to watch zombies. And then of course Zombievers, which is just
Wow. Whoa!
Wow!
What is going on here?
Zombie beavers are tight. All right. Well, a couple of things I wanted to bring up before we dive into our selections. There was some interesting news that came along, and I wanted to kind of throw it to you guys to see what you guys think. Actually, before we jump into there, let's see who is in the chat tonight. Let's see what we got. Surf was first in line. Hello, Surf. Good to see you. And Mr. Malort is right behind him, says Relic is the best. Well, we're going to dive right into that one. Gavlar, the Hand of Zod, one of our amazing patrons, and just rocking, probably just the coolest name ever. And of course, Tony Regime, one of our he's a big fan of our live streams on Discord. Tony, great to see you. Plothole, you're there. I see you there. You're there.
I'm there.
All right. And Mandevil says, oh my God, I escaped from FTFE's debate back to reality. Oh, fuck, I landed here? Absolutely did. And so glad that you're here, Mandevil. Basic Trigonometry, sexiest name on the internet. Thank you so much for joining us. Also one of our amazing patrons. And of course, let's see. Oh, thank you, Mandevil. Says, nice job on the room. It is coming together swimmingly. And NA, good to see you, another one of our amazing patrons. And Charlie Welch, the only man you don't make a bet with on the internet. Good to see you.
You forgot Mr. Malord.
I did say Mr. Malord.
Did you?
I said he was number 2.
Oh, was he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. All right. So a couple things I wanted to actually 3 things because something popped up yesterday I wanted to bring up, wanted to get your guys' take on it. First and foremost, the official announcement of Wolf Creek 3. has been or has just hit the wire. I think day before yesterday. And Wolf Creek, one of my favorite franchises, love the character. John Jarrett plays Mick Taylor, the xenophobic, pig hunting, tourist killing psychopath. He's had 2 films, Wolf Creek 1 and Wolf Creek 2, both of which were fantastic. 2 seasons of a television show, and both of which were absolutely amazing for what they are. And so I'm just continuing the stories of this. And now a 3rd film has finally been approved. So we will be getting that. I put up the poster for Wolf Creek 3 up on the Discord, so you can check it out there. But the link is in the description of this video. But I'm looking forward to that. What about you guys? Wolf Creek, more Mick Taylor?
Is there any more story that can be told?
Absolutely.
The same old shit.
John
People
Jarrett
go
plays,
out, guy finds people, guy doesn't like people, guy kills people, rinse, repeat.
John Jarrett.
Fucking hell.
But John Jarrett makes Mick Taylor such a wonderful villain. It's just fun to watch him play that role.
He does play his role really well, and that right there makes the rinse repeat cycle worth watching, simply because you can tell he's got a passion for the character.
Kyle, what do you think?
People what they want. It's like if you got something and like people are like, I dig this, I will watch the next 9 films for that character, then you rinse repeat.
Yep.
Definitely. Absolutely. So the next thing that came up was it has been officially announced that Rob Zombie will be helming a Munsters film. And apparently after like auditioning like 400 plus women, Sherry Moon will be playing the mom. So maybe, are we surprised? Are we legitimately surprised?
Why even have a casting director?
Let me guess. Danny Trejo is going to be fucking Uncle Fester. What's his name? What's his name is going to be? Oh, okay. Well, what's his name is going to be fucking Lurch.
That's Adam's family as well.
I don't give a shit. Doesn't fucking matter.
So, but yeah, I saw that look, Kyle. What was that look with Rob Zombie's Munsters?
Oh man, I don't know. I think like sometimes, just stay in your lane. Do the things that are gonna like to see you do. So I don't know. I mean, go from 1,000 Corpses to like a classic Monsters. It's I think that he may do a good job. You never know, but I don't know.
Yeah, he might do a good job. Like I might hit a hole in one when I play golf next week.
Well, that's true. I mean, I don't know. I think sometimes you just got to leave things alone. It's like bringing a little like what's new. Like what is new. It just like you were saying. Like how many people or how many times has this particular character been done? This is going to be whatever it's going to be. So yeah, a dark and violent Monsters would be awesome, but that's not Monsters though. That's something else.
This is true. Monsters was wholesome, and you can't have some of the epic scenes with Fred Gwynn as Herman kind of giving life lessons from their point of view, and I that's why we love the show. It was such a wonderful contrast to the Addams Family, but still had that kind of that wholesome bent to it, where they're no different than anybody else. I loved that style of the show. I thought it was nice. It was ahead of its time, so quite brilliant. But yeah, Man Devil says a dark and violent Monsters could be awesome. I may have to disagree with that. I don't like. Yeah.
I honestly, what I would like to see from Rob Zombie is just something original.
Okay.
All these remakes with Halloween and all the other kind of stuff that he's done, and then let's do another sequel from Devil's Reject. No, it's like that. House of 1,000 Corpses was great because it was original. Yeah. Devil's Rejects, that was great. He just expanded upon original characters that he came up with, and because he came up with those characters, he can do whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
I've never been a fan of Rob's. I hated House of 1,000 Corpses. I thought it was just schlock, just for the sake of being schlock. And
so did Universal.
Well, I give him credit for what he was attempting to do, but I thought it fell flat. I didn't like his take on Halloween. It wasn't terrible, but it was like, okay, cool, the same retelling of the same story that I already knew. What about something different? It wasn't a shot for shot remake. but it was pretty fucking close.
Well, he injected a lot of. I mean, there were moments where he wanted to pay homage to it, and John Carpenter gave him his blessing. He was like, "Go for it, make it your own, do your thing." And I got to back him for that because Zombies got his style, Carpenter had his, and when Carpenter was like, "Fuck yeah, do it," yeah, and just make it. But Carpenter said, "Make it your own. Don't just do what I did or try to do something new." And hyper violence, and
he didn't make it his own. He just added the usual Rob Zombie blood and guts and familial abuse, and of course he had to put his wife in. I wonder if she slept with the director.
I think she was sleeping with the director. But let's see what we got here. So we got some new people in. So Man Devil says, "Oh shit, it's the Attack of Eddie Munster." Grave Paradise, good to see you. Another one of our big Discord fans. Tawny A, good to see you. And she glad the notification went through. We had some problems with notifications there for a while. Tawny A, one of our amazing patrons. Thank you for popping in. And Gavlar, the hand is up, says, "Hey Kyle, love the shit." There you go.
He forgot a letter there.
Mr. Malort says
all the time.
Mr. Malort asks, "Did we see the Banana Splits movie?" Not only did we see the Banana Splits movie, but we debated Banana Splits versus Willy's Wonderland. And you can have access to that via, if you're a patron, you get access to it now. I think at the start of the month, you'll have access to it via our anchor site, all the regular podcast sites. But we debated who would win in a fight, the Banana Splits or the Monsters from Willy's Wonderland. So check that out. But we did. I love that movie. Annie says, "Johnny O, hell yeah, I am with you." He agrees with you.
There's only two of us, but damn it, we'll take them all on.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's going. Zombies, monsters is going to happen. So I guess we'll see. We'll find out when it comes out. And the last one is, and this one, Johnny actually didn't believe me when I told him this.
No, I didn't.
And so I had to show him proof from the trades, and it is Peter Dinklage, Kevin Bacon, and Elijah Wood, among a number of other individuals, have signed on for the Toxic Avenger remake.
Yeah. And Peter Dinklage is playing Foxy.
Can I just say something?
Yes, please.
This is coming. This is from an actor's perspective. I think that all of those actors need to have their acting cards pulled and revoked immediately for signing on to do a classic film like Toxic Avengers. Should never be remade ever, and especially not with A-list stars. So no, they never get to act again. That I have spoken.
So you hold it in the regard, you hold the original Toxic Avenger in the regard, like Princess Bride or Labyrinth.
Oh yeah,
these are the films. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
You do not touch these films. So I agree.
I think that it's overcasted.
Too much star power.
Why do we need Kevin Bacon in a fucking Toxic Avenger film? Why do we need Peter Dinklage? Why do we need? I mean, there's supposed to be a whole bunch of no names. I mean, did you know anybody in that film originally?
No,
but did you fucking love it?
And technically, even if it was Peter Dinklage playing Toxic Avenger, I could see him being the guy, him being before the transformation and everything. But Toxie is virtually unrecognizable. You can't really see a face in there. So I'm concerned because I love the look of Toxie. Lloyd Kaufman knocked it out of the park with creating that character. If they try to alter the look so that you can tell that it's Peter Dinklage, that will really upset me. I'll be like, this is not what I grew up with. This is not changing it like that. I just think is a step too far, personally.
Yeah, and plus on top of that, he's a big guy. No hit on Peter because Peter's an awesome actor. But the Toxic Avenger, he's just this muscular guy because he can just throw people around and stuff. I don't know how that would play out.
Is Peter Dinklage be that character?
Yeah, Peter Dinklage is Toxie.
Yeah, he's Toxie. Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't even know what to do with this.
That's why I didn't believe it.
I totally go against casting against type and all that kind of stuff, but I think you're right. I don't think you can. It's counterintuitive. Let's just say that.
We'll say that. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Honestly, Man Devil says that they are in it because they are fans of the original, is what I assume. And it's entirely possible. And it's okay. That's cool. I mean, but like I will agree with what Kyle said. Stay in your lane. This is not something that needs to be touched. It's not the thing that we asked for. This is that meme where it says nobody Toxic Avenger remake.
Yeah.
And yes,
right.
Man Devil, you're right. Dinklage has played a giant before because he played Eitri in Thor. I think it was Thor. No, it wasn't Thor Ragnarok. It was
Infinity War.
Infinity War. So yeah, I do remember that. But still. And of course, Tony Regime says Kevin Bacon has no pride. He's been the face of a mobile phone service for a decade.
Look,
hey,
it's
man,
not that he has no pride. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not that he has no pride. It's that he has a fucking Maserati and a Tesla and a fucking 17 room mansion and shit. So
yeah. No, I mean, look, I love all those actors. I think they're all great, and it'll probably be a really good film. For what it is. But my personal thing is you just don't touch. There's no reason to do a remake of an original product, that's been done already. That was a classic like that. It was in the midnight, movie theaters forever. It's like it'd be like redoing Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's like I would firebomb the set. Not really, watching this, but it's just some things you just don't touch.
Oh, that one writer who was like sitting there, he's watching our show, and he's like, Rocky Horror remake. Oh shit! I was like,
this is what will piss me off because all the gore effects are all practical, and I love the gore effects in the original. If I see one drop of CGI blood on any fucking kill, I will lose my shit.
Are you talking about in Toxic Avenger? You have to have practical effects, and
it's got to be 100%.
I don't think they're going to do it.
Yeah,
there was a Rocky Horror Picture Show remake, by the way.
It'd be like redoing Reanimator, with digital stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Malord, a Rocky Horror Picture Show remake would suck. Yes, it would suck.
It was a made for TV show that came out in 2015 or 2016 or something like that.
And there's a reason why none of us has heard of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that's a few of the things that are just kind of coming up in the future of this genre. Questionable at questionable at best, or questionable at worst, and absolutely abominable at best. Well, we'll find out what's going on with it. But so let's dive in. Eugene, what do we have up first, my friend?
All right,
let's get it started.
So the first movie we have is Leprechaun 3, released June 7th, 1995.
Oh my God, I was 15.
And directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, and starring the great Warwick Davis, also with John Gaddens, Caroline Williams, Lee Armstrong, Marcelo Tulbert, Michael Kalin, and Tom Dugan.
Holy shit. Hey, stop, everybody.
Thank you. I made it.
The inside joke that Eugene sometimes has trouble with pronunciation.
No, it's the inside joke that J.L. Warren continues to give Eugene all the terrible French, foreign, weird shit to have to say.
Except for Trey Nubusan, where I nailed all the Korean names. All of them.
We don't know why. We don't know how it is. It's amazing.
And so basically part of the Leprechaun series, but for the few of you who have never seen it before, you get a statue of the Leprechaun arrives at a pawn store, and all of a sudden the statue turns to life, and the Leprechaun wreaks havoc in Las Vegas. And shit gets real.
Yeah.
I want to be gold.
Now I know Kyle, this must have been a throwback for you. I don't even know. You've seen it before, I'm sure.
Well, I hadn't actually seen that one. I did watch it, but funny story, because I watched all these films in the last couple of days, like to freshen up on them. So when I pushed go on Leprechaun, what I thought was 3, I get into it and I'm watching Ice-T His character was Mac Daddy with Leprechaun. And I got my notes going. I'm like, "Yeah, this is great." He pulled a bat out of his afro. That's fucking hilarious. All this kind of stuff. And then my wife comes in and I pause the video, and I'm like, "Oh shit, this is Leprechaun 5." And so I had watched an hour of Leprechaun 5 before realizing that I was on the wrong movie. So then I'm like, So anyway, about Leprechaun 3, I thought it was a great place to have it in Las Vegas. So I got to see 2 Leprechauns in one night. But
nice.
Yeah.
So really, you're a winner. That's what you're saying.
We'll say that again.
You're Charlie Sheen. You're winning.
I am so winning. Yeah, but about the film, I think that the suspense was good. I got the cheese of the whole thing is I think like the appeal of these films, because it's like even like the effects, they're decent, but it's not like anything is like kind of mind blowing, and some of the gags are they're clever but not brilliant. So I think it's like the wittiness of the character of the Leprechaun itself is kind of like what drives the films. But so I think you gotta just be a fan of cheese horror to dig these films. And I know they have. I mean, how many have they made now? 9. So I know that there's a big off for it. And that's why a filmmaker, it's like whatever you want to do. Just do it. Just write it. It's like if there's a horror film that you want to do, go all the way with whatever your idea is, because it's gonna have an audience in the horror market. But yeah, I thought, let's see what else do they have.
Mr. Blur would like to say, I did the same thing with Prison Sluts and Heat. Part 7 and 12 were mixed up. Oh,
you see, case point.
Exactly.
But I mean,
simple mistake to make. Right.
Ultimately, it's interesting. I'm glad that you touched on it. I'm glad that was one of your takeaways, because I mean, arguably, there's some people, critics, and the people who worked on will consider that 3 was the worst of the franchise. Was like of the original franchise, of the 6 that starred Warwick Davis. The 3 was arguably the lowest point of, and then they kind of improved with Leprechaun back, in the Hood, and Leprechaun Back to the Hood. But the
improvements,
I would say they're improved. I would say, but for this one, but legitimately, despite people think it's the lowest in the franchise, this one, number 3, was Warwick Davis's favorite. He loved it.
It's because he got to really play with the humor. Because the original idea of Leprechaun was supposed to be this, it has to be super serious horror, straight horror film. And I'm sorry, but a little green man running around bitching about his gold is not scary to me.
Exactly. And there's no way really to make that scary.
They tried. They really did try to do it in the first one. And then that stupid remake they did. What was it, 2009?
Oh, there was there was Leprechaun Origins, and then
that one. Jesus,
and then that was one that was backed by WWE and by wrestling, and because it started because one of their dwarf wrestlers was the Leprechaun in that, and it was gross. It wasn't even Leprechaun; it was a monster. But then then there was another one that was done, which starred another, I think, professional wrestler. And that one was supposed to be a remake or a remake of the original film. It wasn't great at all.
So remember that thing that we said earlier about staying in your lane?
Yes.
Not every wrestler is The Rock.
they don't try to be though. But that's what I love, because I read an interview with Warwick Davis when he was talking about the franchise, the 6 that he was involved in, and the big thing that he loved on this one was that the reason the Leprechaun was a horror comedy, the reason it became that was because the initial intention was the film was going to be straight legit horror, just straight up horror, nothing funny about it, and the comedy came in because Warwick didn't play it that way. He's the one who injected the comedy and made it into a horror comedy, because I think he had the same reaction. Johnny, you said a little man chasing after a crazy little man chasing after his goal. That's not funny, and just
scary.
And that's not scary. And then
it's
I
funny
laughed.
as fuck.
And I laughed at the concept. It was like that's funny, and it's most like I would say that's probably what Warwick did. He read the script and said, "This is hilarious."
Yes.
So it's got to be, and the comedy is what made it, because Warwick Davis, I mean, he sold that movie. It was great because of what he brought to it. So from then on, he altered the scope of the entire franchise. It became a horror comedy, became a cult classic, has spawned so many movies. And 3 was the best because he said that he received no pushback from the director or anybody else. He got to legitimately bring all the humor he wanted to the character. So he got to just unleash and just be the character as he wanted to be it. And so he had the most fun playing it. It was the most free he'd been playing the role, and it was an absolute blast. Plus, he made a huge mention that the director was just an expert of doing so much with so very, very little. I mean, the budget on the film was only $2.5 million. $2.5 million production, and they stretched it as and then they stretched it as far as they absolutely could. So I mean, that's pretty odd. I mean, I would say that. So they loved making it. They had a lot of fun. Although we would say, if you got to, like Kyle said, you got to love the cheese.
You have to.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because this is what this franchise is about, and I think with this one, it leaned into it the most. Because first of all, it takes place in Vegas. You have some of the creative kills where the lady explodes with all like the injections and all the other kind of stuff in it. So you get these fun and creative kills, and it just kind of leans into. I don't know who would say this is the worst of the franchise. This is definitely not the worst of the franchise. I mean, you have one that takes place in space, and he comes out of a guy's nutsack.
And then the thing where it flattens the face, and
like really on that. This is one of the better ones.
They knew where it was heading. That's why it usually takes a long time for the horror franchise to go to space. And they knew where it was going, so like, fuck it, let's just get to space as quickly as possible. So they hit it by the fourth movie.
We are jumping the shark right to space.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Fuck. Let's just get there. See, because at this time, by the time Leprechaun in Space had come out, we already had we had Pinhead in Space, and I think Jason X was out right the year before or 2 years before, give or take.
I'd have to double check that, but
I
yeah,
can't
eventually.
remember, but it all happened really close together. So
it took him 10 movies to get to space.
Yeah, but he started in the late 70s, early 80s. So I mean, come on,
So, but a big thing that really that really interested me in talking about this particular film. There's not much need to deep dive in this. Warwick Davis is absolutely just bonkers as Loved in the Leprechaun, running around Las Vegas, chasing his lucky coin. Or his gold coin as it moves from person to person to person. Just, it was just fun. It was cheesy. It was camp, and it's just absolutely hilarious. You could tell Warwick loved playing the role and was just just bonkers mad. But when he made the comment about the director being able to stretch his budget as far as he possibly could, figuring out ways to do things, that is one of the toughest jobs as a director when you're on set and you have the script and you're trying to shoot for a particular thing. And man, as I know, Kyle can attest, as Eugene can attest, as I and Johnny O, we can all attest to this. When you're on set, shit just does not go right. I have never been on a set that worked absolutely swimmingly. You're going to run into something. And more often than not, it's a budgetary thing. So you've got to be able to think on your feet. You've got to be able to adjust and adapt and find a way to accomplish what you want within budget, because unfortunately as directors, not often are we the top dogs. We answer to somebody above us who's sitting there, usually the bean counters going, you got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, yada, 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 or it's got to be within scheduling or whatever. There's a lot of mouths up above you saying this is the lane you need to be in. So trying to be creative and be in that lane at the same time usually can create some problems. I think we're all all familiar with that.
Oh yeah, absolutely on that, because ultimately every decision comes with a price tag.
Yes,
on it. And if you have a producer that is willing to really work for you, you fight the battles. You fight the battles that are the important ones while giving up stuff on the other side. Hey, we invest more in this kill, but we may have to cut down locations here, and you make that trade, and a good producer will work with you on that one.
Well, don't we have good producer? A good producer is one that has a contingency budget that they don't tell you about.
Yes.
So they'll say, hey, we've got $1 million to make this film, knowing they really have 1.2 or 1.3 million. So they have that little bit of wiggle room they just don't tell you about. And then when it comes down to it, oh fuck, I forgot to get this. You're in fucking post and whatever. You're cutting your movie together and like, oh shit, this scene here doesn't work. We need to reshoot. And you go to your producer like, hey, yeah, we can make it happen. Don't worry about it.
So I was like, yeah, we got you. They should. Usually standards like standards about 15% contingency as a just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to say, because Kyle, I know you've worked you've produced as well. So you're in the unique position because I've only produced my own stuff. So I'm kind of like the guy above, and I've also directed as well. So I've sat in both chairs. So I'm always kind of like, can I do this? And the producers are like, oh yeah, absolutely, you can do that. Just fucking do it. And so I myself have actually never been in a situation where I've had somebody telling me above, the limitations there. But you have the unique position of being that person when the other, there's another director. And I'm kind of curious the role in that, the constraints that you find and what you've run into in your career.
Well, it's interesting. I think that the only thing that when we were working on The Chair, it was a prison set, and first of all, I came onto The Chair as an actor. So I was hired as an actor, and then I was talking to Peter Samedi, who was the creator of the film, and he would ask me questions. And I'm here in LA, he's on the East Coast, and so he would ask me questions. Where can we shoot? A sound guide. This. That. And I answered all the questions correctly. And then he had interviewed some producer types, the A-type personalities. I'm going to recast your film. We're going to do it my way. You have to pay me $10,000 a day. All that kind of stuff. And he's like, "Go fuck yourself." And
that's kind of funny because that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
yeah. And then Peter said, "Kyle, do you want to produce the film?" And I had never produced a film before, but I had done just about everything on a set, which experience is a good thing to have. So so I said, "Well, sure, yeah, let's do this." And so I went from basically my character start like as an actor. I got in because my buddy Ezra Buzzington, who I've worked with prior, and so he got me in as an actor. I came in as one of the guards that didn't have any lines, so I had 0 lines when we started, and then basically they ended up writing my character in when they found out that I could actually act. So I was like, "Oh, cool! I get some lines." So then it kind of grew from there, and then I was just part of the ensemble. So anyway, and then I ended up producing it because of what I had just said. Back to the story. So having come on as an actor, now I'm all of a sudden producing the film, like responsible for decisions. And we're going out and we're looking around at prison sets and jail sets and stuff like that. And basically they were super expensive, or they weren't available, or one problem after the other. We walk into this one particular jail set down in Long Beach, I think, a jail that wasn't being used anymore. And we walk in, and it's an old jail, like it used to be a jail. And you walk in and you snap your fingers, and it's like, and it's snap, 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 snap.
Oh.
So it was a big giant echo chamber, and I was like, "There's no fucking way that we can shoot here," And Chad, the director, Chad Farron, he was like, no, it'll be fine. We'll fix it in post. And I was like,
yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, no. You're gonna redub the whole film after we shoot it in this fucking echo chamber? I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. And I was like, no, we can't shoot here. It's like you kind of walk in and I'm the guy, actor for the director, telling him he can't have this location. So it was a very strange situation to be in. But it ended up being that I've been a carpenter forever, so I know how to build sets. So 3 weeks before, and all these failed location scouts that don't have a place to shoot, and it's 3 weeks till we have to shoot the film. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to build it. So I kind of said, that's what's happening. I'm going to build the set. And so I built the set in my backyard for like 3 weeks, and then we got it on stage, and at Pollution Studios, which is just a soundstage. But so that happened, and so that was weird.
Oh wow!
That right there, that is how you do that. So you find out, and it's wild. I know it's not common that typically the producer would be like, "Oh shit, I got to build the set, and I've got less than a month to do before we start production." And so we, especially with the looming dead, the start date of principal photography, and you're kind of like, "Oh fuck." But then he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to build the goddamn thing myself, and we'll just do this." That's boss, and this is how this kind of thinking is usually what comes. You have to be a master at finding the middle ground, because if you are intractable on a movie set, things will just come to a screeching halt. There's got to be a way to compromise. Is one of the biggest things I learned. You've got to be able to compromise things in order to get the thing done, because as we always say here on Week in Horror, getting it in the can is one of the biggest hurdles anybody's. I mean, if you get it in the can, I don't care how bad your movie is, you got it in the fucking can.
Yeah.
You knocked it out. So
that's an accomplishment.
How many people start and never even finish? So this is what you do. This is part of that business. Knowing how to stretch that dollar, and of course, every single experience leads to the next. And then you get creative and you learn things. You put your own little personal playbook. Like, this is what we're gonna do if we're gonna run into this. And it's part of the fun. It's an art form. It's not a science.
It is. It's a team effort. It's an art form.
Team effort, yes.
Everybody get on the same page. Let's make a movie.
Let's see. Tony Regime is bringing up Week in Horror. That's why Bad Taste is one of my favorite horror films. Peter Jackson found creative ways to get the effects to work on a limited budget. Did stuff like staying up overnight on weekends, making the latex masks for the film himself, built his own Steadicam rig for like $30. Scale models of the buildings, and because he was a model builder, because he loved doing miniatures, and he used that talent he'd cultivated to build the scale miniatures of the buildings he was going to be showing, so he could do the miniature work for that film. So all kinds of cool stuff. Oh, Man Devil is asking, Kyle, are you sitting in the jail cell set right now?
No, man, it's a Chinese, one of those folding walls, but it does have that look. Certainly does, so. Can we ever really be sure, where we are?
He is Man Devil. He's the warden. Well, I love this. I love Leprechaun 3. It was, like you said, it was camp. It was cheese. You watch it for Warwick Davis. Warwick Davis is the only reason to watch this franchise, and the way he's reacted, because for him, he's loved in the Leprechaun, and everybody else reacting around him is what makes it brilliant, especially in Leprechaun in the Hood and Back to the Hood. I mean, that stuff was just absolutely inane, but a lot of fun, super, super fun. And of course, for anybody who is a burgeoning filmmaker, you can see when you watch these movies, you begin to break them down, where they had to make those decisions and how they managed to pull things off. You could be like, oh, I recognize that they did this in order to kind of cut down on cost and try to fit it within the budget they were working with. It's really, really, it's good for for people who want to learn, and of course, if you just want to watch horror film, it's a good time waster. It's good, it's good fun.
Really is. They put that movie on when you're like folding laundry or doing housework and shit.
Watch them all. Watch them all.
Yeah, except for that weird one that doesn't even have Warwick Davis in it.
I think there were 2 that didn't have him in it.
Well, I mean, the one that really doesn't even have a leprechaun in it. It's just like some weird monster.
Oh, yeah, it was just some gooey fucking monster. It was gross. Yeah. All right. Well, unfortunately, it looks like
lost Eugene.
Eugene may have accidentally dropped out, but that's okay, because we're still going. And that's all right, because I will say it's time for the CTA. I got to ask the audience, and you guys as well, is this franchise dead without Warwick Davis? Because we've had 2 Leprechaun films with no Warwick Davis, and both of them, I will say, were crap.
Yep.
And this is coming from the guy who loves Hellraiser 3. So these 2 movies were junk, and 6 movies that were amazing because of Warwick. So I want to ask the audience, ask you guys, really, is the Leprechaun franchise dead with no Warwick Davis?
Much like the Hellraiser franchise, when they try and bring Pinhead in, is dead without Doug Bradley. The Leprechaun franchise is dead without Warwick Davis. You can't. It's just I don't know. It's just bad. It's just a bad decision not to bring the guy who made the franchise. Like, you want to wait 30 years to redo it? Okay, cool. Warwick Davis is probably retired or whatever. But I mean, come on. Even the remake or the reboot of Willow, they hired Warwick Davis in.
Yeah.
So just don't do it.
Wait a minute, was he fired? Like, what happened?
No, he decided to retire from the character just because getting into the makeup every single day. He's getting up there in age. I think he's over 50 now. So, and just getting into the Leprechaun makeup every day was just so taxing because he'd end up spending 4 to 6 hours in makeup every single day on shoot. You know, you're shooting for 3 months, upwards of 3 months, and that just takes its toll. And so, getting up in that deal, he just was tired of doing it. I can imagine that. Over 50 years old, woof.
And I can imagine being, a little jaded that's like how people are going to remember him from now on. The guy's been in so many different films, and everybody's going, "Oh yeah, it's Leprechaun."
Definitely.
Here's how I think it can go on. Like, if he were to like publicly say, "I want this character to live on, and please, whoever is casted this character, please do it justice." If it's the character's the thing for him, like if he's like, "I'm passing the torch," then I think that's one way it can go on. But I totally get your point about like the actor being the thing.
Definitely. And it looks like, Eugene will be booting up his computer. Apparently he had a power flicker out there where he is. So hopefully he'll get that set up. Let's see. I'm seeing that the live chat
strikes again.
Yeah, I'm seeing that the live chat pretty much agrees with this. Gavlar, the Hand of Zod, says yes. Grave Paradise says the fuck jail, probably in response to Hellraiser 3. Mr. Blord says yes. NA says yes. Tawny A says yes. Mandela says, yeah, it's like doing Elm Street without Johnny Depp. It says he's joking. But yeah, it is like doing Elm Street without Robert Englund, because Robert Englund's officially retired from Nightmare on Elm Street, retired from Freddy Krueger, and Jackie Earle Haley. While I love Jackie Earle Haley as an actor, not Freddy Krueger. No. I'm sorry. I gave it a shot and was, this is not going to work. I'm sorry. It's just
I would have turned that role down if I were Jackie, because you just can't do Robert Englund. Everybody's going to, again, that's one of those movies like we've always talked about, doing remakes of movies that are just beloved. The only thing that you can hope for is to be as good as you can't hope to be better. True. And then the same thing with these type of horror icons. Like you can get away with it with Jason, kind of, because he's masked. You can get away with it kind of with Michael Myers, again, because he's masked. But when we're talking about Pinhead or when we're talking about Freddy Krueger, those characters were brought to life by their respective actors. Yep. Freddy Krueger was Freddy Krueger because of Robert Englund. You put anybody else in that position. I don't know if Nightmare on Elm Street does as well.
Agreed. Yeah, and Doug Bradley.
I agree.
Doug Bradley is Pinhead. Abby, that's just unstoppable. I mean, and then because it's the voice, it's the delivery, it's the way he holds himself. He nailed it from the start. It was I just don't think you could beat it. Tony Regime says they'll just cast Peter Dinklage for the reboot. Oh, buddy. But I'm in agreement. I think that the Leprechaun franchise is dead unless Warwick Davis is involved in some way to kind of preserve the legacy that he built. I think it's pretty much done. And I don't think they should. I think if we see another one, it's just going to be a studio producing a movie just so they can establish they have the rights to maintain the rights, just in case for something, because they could sell it off in the future.
It's so stuck in that Hellraiser loop of just shit movies,
exactly,
to keep the rights. Yeah,
definitely. All right. So while Eugene is powering his system back up, Johnny, what do we have next?
Oh boy, we have Psycho 3, the 1986 American slasher film and the third film in the Psycho series, if you couldn't tell by the name Psycho 3, just in case. We have Anthony Perkins, who's reprising his role as the one and only Norman Bates. He also directs this film. We also have Diana Schwarwood, Jeff Fahey, and Roberta Maxwell as they join this wacky cast of characters as Anthony Perkins tries not to kill people again.
Tries so hard not to kill people, but just ends up doing it anyway.
By sheer accident. Can't help it. The zany antics of good old. Oh man,
I found this was a particularly interesting one. I know that all three of us, are huge. I know Eugene as well, giant fans of the Psycho series, Alfred Hitchcock's seminal franchise that he kicked off. Anthony Perkins is the absolute perfect. Personally, I've always considered Psycho as the original slasher, the progenitor of the slasher genre. Before it commercialized and got more extreme, and more extreme started trying to one up itself. But I think Psycho being the original slasher, and Anthony Perkins making this movie, which is amazing because he loves the character. He loved the character. He loved the franchise. He loved its kind of place in the annals of film. And so to get this movie done, he directed it. So this was him. This was his project going full bore to portray Norman Bates again before Psycho 4 at the beginning, which I honestly thought the 4 was a good movie. But it was interesting feeling Perkins behind the camera.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was like Anthony Perkins, you could see in the directing style that it was kind of like was his camera work and the shots and the edit. It was kind of like a personification of his acting. It was like when he would like hold on the actors for a certain a bit of time where you could see like in his mind he's like, this is what I would do if I was acting, and I'm seeing it right now in front of me. So it would be like he had himself in all of the characters through his directing. Was the kind of the feeling that I got, and I totally loved it.
I thought it was interesting seeing him pick up the torch. I know there was we're going to talk about Psycho 2, but having worked with Alfred Hitchcock on Psycho and then trying to carry on that storytelling arc, being the original actor playing the role and having that, I don't know. I think that would be a difficult thing to do because isn't this his first film to direct?
Well, I think it was his directorial debut.
See, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I could make this, hey, I know I played Norman Bates in the original Psycho that was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, but man, now I got to direct myself in an Alfred Hitchcock sequel. That's tough. I don't know if I would
pressure.
do that. Yeah, right. Exactly. No pressure.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he pulled it off.
I do. I really do. And I loved his approach to it. It felt very much that like you said, I like the idea of the sensation of Perkins's kind of mind's eye when, it was his perspective. So not only did he get to be the character and, it's told from Norman's perspective, but also the director in that. It was almost like the camera was Norman's eye at particular times, like if he had the God's eye in that respect. And I really, really enjoyed that. It lent itself to the tension, lent itself to the overall creepiness. And I think what I took away was a nice homage to what Hitchcock wanted, because obviously Perkins and Hitchcock had a very good relationship. They both trusted each other. They worked very well together. Anthony takes direction well. He's a legendary actor. You just look at his filmography, you could see the range of the man, the absolute talent. And he wanted to play the role again, but having control like this, he could say, he wanted to really point out the best parts of doing a Psycho movie, the best parts of being Norman Bates. And so from the guy who was the character in the beginning, I trusted him. I trust him the most to be able to do that next to Hitchcock himself. And so I think I almost called him Norman. I think Anthony did a magnificent job in doing this. And it's a shame because not a lot of people really dug this one in the franchise. And it was basically just a love for the franchise that got this movie made. But I adored this. I actually love this one, and it's rare. I like the third entry in the film more than the second entry in the film, which is wild because typically, you watch Hollywood trends, you watch film trends. That's not what happens. But I think, honestly, the third one was better than Psycho 2.
Hey, it has a really interesting point of view on this one. There he is.
Hey!
And he's back. People were really creeped out because everything went dark in your room.
It was
just the light. It was like, I was like unfriended or some shit, and then he just vanished.
Yeah, because I think it was Mandel would notice that my daughter had been running around in the back, and she was hooded. She's like wearing this, black hoodie and whatnot. Somebody came out from behind the wall. Black hoodie, just sneaking in and out, and all of a sudden Eugene goes black, and then he's gone.
I should have
Nobody gets
screamed
out
at the
alive,
very end.
Oh, wild. But yeah, we were basically just talking on Anthony Perkins' effect on the third film. And like I was saying, I honestly think the third film is better than the second film. Not as good as the first. The first is obviously a seminal classic. But I thought the third one was better than the second, which typically doesn't happen in film franchises. Third one's usually, but this one was up there.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it too. Obviously, Anthony Perkins he's fucking amazing on it. It is difficult directing yourself. And one of the biggest things is you have what I like to call the 100% rule. And every job is a job on a film set for a reason. And you can only have 100% energy you can devote total. So if you're just directing, you can focus 100%. But when you're starring in a film and then directing, all of a sudden it's like, do you do 50-50 and then they both kind of lack? Or do you focus more on directing and then the acting falls? Because you'll see in certain films where it's like the directing's still top notch, but their performance is bad. Or you take a film, say like Braveheart. Braveheart's all over the place. You'll have some great moments in that film when Mel Gibson's not in it. but you'll have other moments, but he'll have good performances here, but then it's like everything else could be kind of stale or whatever. You see that a lot. There are a handful that can handle it. Everybody goes to the Clint Eastwood one. Well, Clint Eastwood can do this. Listen, Clint Eastwood is an exception to the rule. He also has 60 plus years of film experience.
Yeah, and he has a good AD.
Yeah, and typically, if you have a really good DP, you have a really good AD who can kind of pick up that slack for you, then it can help out. It can help out a lot. But especially in the indie scene, a lot of people. If I look at credits for a film and I'm like, produced by, directed by, starring, edited, sound designed by, blah 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 blah, there's a 99% chance that movie's trash. Like, I think I maybe think of one.
I need to go rewrite my credits.
That's funny. Like, you just said a lot there, man. Like,
there are some pitfalls in it, and I think Kevin Costner.
Stop hating on the Postman.
I'm not hating. I actually like the Postman. I like the Postman because of Will Patton. Will Patton was great. He was a great villain in that, and I thought. And sometimes a movie is only as good as its villain. Will Patton is an amazing actor. But Kevin, I love Kevin to death. I really do. I'm a big fan of Yellowstone. I love Yellowstone and think it's an amazing show. But you can tell exactly what Eugene was talking about with Braveheart. The scenes that Mel Gibson was directing and not acting in, you can tell were absolutely amazing. Same thing with The Postman. There were a lot of scenes in there. There were other people. Kevin's in the director's seat. Doesn't have to worry about being on there. They are wonderful. They're brilliant. But
wasn't that only like 4 scenes in the whole movie?
I think so. Yeah, it wasn't that many.
It was a lot of Kevin.
Can I counterpoint on Yellowstone just for one particular reason?
Absolutely.
There's one thing about that show that, like, there's so much gunplay in it. It's like, hey, give me a fucking cup of coffee now. It's like there's nowhere to go. When you pull the gun out, that's all you're either going to shoot somebody or you're going to put it back in your pocket and you're going to start talking again. But there's nowhere to go. And when everybody has their gun out in every scene, it's like you've jumped the shark every time someone pulls a gun out, because now I just don't believe you. It's like nobody can shoot straight, and everyone's going to pull their gun out. So anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, that is a good point, because once the gun comes out, you can't escalate it any further unless you actually shoot somebody.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Malloy would like us to know that I need to stop sandbagging Kevin Costner, because Costner killed Dane Cook, and that makes him infallible. So, Mr. Brooks, Yeah.
Funny.
That's true. Still
So-
upset. I'm still upset at that movie.
Yeah, well,
I'm so
I'm
mad at that movie.
why? Because I'm upset it didn't get made into the trilogy it was supposed to be.
Again, because it didn't get made. I know they were going to make it a trilogy. I know why, but the scene where the daughter cuts Kevin Costner's throat.
Yeah, where he
Like,
goes into the bedroom and she comes
yeah.
around with those scissors. Yeah.
Right. When I first watched that,
I've gotten the point. I can't go watch it now. I know what
it's
happened.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Spoiler alert.
It's that wasn't even really a spoiler because we don't tell how it ends. You've got to watch the movie.
Well, again, I'm about to say something. I didn't when I first watched it. I didn't know that it was going to be a trilogy. I watched it as a standalone film. I was like, oh, sweet. And then this part happens, and I'm thinking, yes. And I thought to myself immediately, I swear to fucking Christ, if you make this a fucking dream sequence, I'm breaking this movie in half. I will tell you now that I do no longer own a copy of Mr. Brooks.
I love that movie. I thought Kevin, Dane, Demi Moore, everybody was amazing in it. I thought I'd often be one of my bedtime movies when I'm just like I'm gonna throw in Mr. Brooks. I love the music, the scoring is fantastic.
Okay,
Mandevil says, Mandevil says, I'm running a horror podcast. Of course I go to bed watching horror movies. What do you want from me?
That's not a horror movie.
Mandevil says, Kevin Costner has never made a good film, except for Field of Dreams, Dances with Wolves, The Untouchables, A Perfect World, Mr. Brooks, and only like a dozen more. I respect Kevin Costner. I love him. What do I love him most? I love him in ensemble pieces. When Kevin has a lot of very talented people all around, when he's working, and he will typically be surrounded by extraordinary talent. And I love that. When he's a part of an ensemble piece, that cat is unfucking stoppable. I consider Untouchables to be an ensemble piece. That was literally this. Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, Andy Garcia, Robert De Niro. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
That's an ensemble piece.
Yeah.
And he was, I was saying, Mr. Brooks was an ensemble piece. Field of Dreams. That wasn't just Kevin Costner. That was Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones. I mean, when he works across from someone with the level of talent that he has, it is always amazing.
But that should say more about his ability acting than it should say against his ability to act. Because when you can stand out next to those characters, next to those actors, that says something about at least Kevin Costner's ability to rise to the occasion.
Oh, and he can.
Oh, yeah.
But going with what Eugene said, it's the 100% rule. That when he's in the director's chair and he's in the starring chair,
right,
and in certain cases he's also in the writer's chair. When he's doing that, then you can't commit yourself, and you can see where it kind of drops off. You can see the kind of it's not quite there. It's not the 100% that Kevin can give, because he's too busy with his mind behind the camera, and being concerned about this. You can see this when it comes out, and it's always such a bummer because he is such a phenomenal actor. And that's why I'm glad that I also definitely wanted to get Kyle's take on the pitfalls of directing oneself, because having been on both sides of the camera, that's something that you run into a bit more often than when I started doing it, I started seeing it happens way more often than you'd think.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this. Okay, I have not directed myself yet, but the Preacher 6, I am also the producer of. So basically, like from the ground up, my wife wrote it and I produced it and played Preacher 6. So having said that, it is a lot. It's a fucking lot. So it's like when you have everybody coming to you, hey, Kyle, what about this? What about that? What about this? Okay, the fucking art department's arguing with the director. You got to come break that up between scenes, and it's like there's so much, and it's certainly challenging. So, it's in order to do it, it's like you definitely have to be able to really like put things in boxes, and like have that level shoulders. And I was thinking, because I want to direct a movie called The Coop, which is a Western. And it's like, and I want to play one of the I will be playing one of the parts in it, and I'm actually like debating, whether to take that on or not as a director as well, even though I want to, but it's like, is that the right decision for the project and the performance, which is just what you were saying. So it's a lot to think about, and there's no actor, director, producer, there's no 300% of a person, and there's only so much time in a day, and the burnout factor is a real thing. So it's like, so at some point, you're either gonna hit that wall and not be able to optimally perform, or you're going to revert to the 80s and you're going to develop a cocaine habit, which I do not recommend.
I'm glad Man Devil brought this up, because I was thinking about this movie, thinking about Sling Blade, and how Billy Bob Thornton basically did everything. Yeah. I mean, he was almost playing Dwight Yoakam. Okay, so I mean, fucking hell, he did everything in this movie, and I mean, Sling Blade's a really good film.
Writing, producing, directing, and starring in that, and it was his first film. And I think he had the opportunity to, because it was his project. He got it off the ground. He was directing, and he knew the character that he wanted to play. And I think, and I'm just positing this because Billy Bob Thornton's an amazing actor. I'm positing this because the character, I think, he wasn't terribly nuanced. Just because of the character himself. I mean, it was kind of just a slow, slow on the upchuck kind of guy, just very, very basic, sees the world in a particular way, and just has a unique characterization when he speaks with the, and when the character is that easy and you already know the story back and forth, you can allow everyone around him. Because what I noticed about that film was one of the things that made it great was Lucas Black, Dwight Yoakam, everybody around him is really who made that movie.
John Ritter, those three characters. Not to take away from Billy Bob Thornton in that film. I really haven't particularly cared for Billy Bob Thornton much of anything else. I always thought he was kind of the same delivery, that same Southern drawl, accent, and just about everything he does, and everything seems to be just a little bit of a different characterization of the same character. I thought that, Sling Blade, obviously that was completely different. But yeah, it was the fact that he was able to corral in the John Ritter, the Lucas Black, and Dwight Yoakam. That was a great casting decision to put Dwight Yoakam in that spot, because I don't know if I could think of anybody else to play that character just quite like Dwight does.
Yeah. And definitely Commander Darklight, rest in peace to John Ritter. We miss him. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that there's the thing about certain actors is like you have actors who are chameleons and they can do everything, and they can play all the parts, and they'll give different performances and different stuff. And then you have like personalities like him who brings his personality and slightly changes it, but it's like the audience is like really drawn to the personality. It's like Jack Nicholson, it's like De Niro. It's like you're not looking for Nicholson to do something different than Nicholson or De Niro. And it took me a long time to go, oh, I get it. So it's like you can either do, like, I've been an actor forever, took all the classes, I went to Cal Arts, yada, yada, Shakespeare, all the shit. So it's like, so I've done everything that you would train to be an actor, and then when you see like, well, this guy, I'll throw a flamethrower at this motherfucker. It's like when you just the personality and you get those riffs of the personality into the characters, and that's what people want. It's like, it's disappointing. Like as an actor, it's like, well, shit, I've learned all the stuff, and now I know how to do a bazillion things. And all that's really popular is like this one particular fucking, thing that this person does, But getting out of my own way, if that's what people want, then they like the actor and not necessarily the characters. I don't know. It's complicated, but it's like, all right. So where do you kind of find yourself fitting in, as an actor? And so I just do the part, so that's where I fit in, but that's not where everybody else fits in.
To answer Man Devil's question, Adam Sandler he hired Nicholson to totally be completely different than he was known for.
Yep. Who would ever hire Nicholson or Morgan Freeman and say, be completely different for $20 million? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
Adam Sandler did it with anger management. Have you ever seen Jack Nicholson do that type of role before anger management? Like that far out, which is what made it brilliant. The fact that you took, Jack fucking Jack Nicholson, and all of a sudden he's fucking singing "I Feel Pretty." Oh, so pretty. You know what I mean? It made it hilarious.
Well, I think you take one of the characters, like say for example Keanu Reeves. I've never thought Keanu Reeves is a top level great generational actor or terrible actor. Like that. Yeah, he plays pretty much the same thing. But the reason he's so successful in the box office is because we want to watch Keanu Reeves do cool shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly
probably one of the nicest guys in the world, but he's a shit actor. Sorry, Keanu.
Yeah, I would love to meet him. I would love to grab a beer and just talk whatever with Keanu Reeves. Absolutely. Will I go see John Wick 10 when it comes out after he's killed 1 million people?
Yes.
Yeah, I will still go see it. No, it's just Keanu Reeves killing a bunch of people.
Keanu Reeves and the old folks home killing all the old folks.
I will see John Wick kill
people
John
die.
Exactly. I will see John Wick. I will see John Wick kills the Marvel Universe. You can guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Like what is it? They got another Die Hard coming out. Die Hard. Back to the geriatric or some shit like that. Holy crap! What are we doing? We got to call to it. So we just got on. We started out talking about Psycho 3. Now we're talking about Keanu Reeves and John Wick 15. So this is what we're going to ask the audience: who was the best, or which character, which film had the best Norman Bates?
I was angling at who played Bates the best, because we've had a number of
Perkins. I gotta say, a lot of people will give me shit about this, but Vince Vaughn did a pretty good job in the role. If the role had not been a shot-for-shot remake, I give Vince Vaughn kind of credit for taking up that role, especially seeing as how that was a huge role to fuck up. Not be considered. Oh, you're shit. I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, that Vince Vaughn actually surprised me in that one, and it's not his fault by any means why the remake was a failure. Just right, it means just shot for shot. I was like, why the fuck would you even want to make this? You just make this color. That's all you really did. But Vince Vaughn actually did a really good job.
Yeah. I've never dug, because if you watch Vince Vaughn stuff, obviously he got pigeonholed very much. Wedding Crashers is what did that, and then you got movies like Dodgeball, and so he's the goofy everyman who's just kind of like nonplussed about everything in the world. Almost, like Norm Macdonald, I think takes it too far. This is my take on that. But I like Vince Vaughn when Vince Vaughn does get to break out of that little box that Hollywood put him in.
He really is a good actor. He's got chops.
He's phenomenal. I mean, there's a one that he recently did. Something Riot in Cell Block. I can't remember the name of it.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, Cell Block 61 or something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Someone look that up. Riot in Cell Block something. Vince.
Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yeah,
was it? Right. And he was amazing in that film. Shockingly good. So definitely, if you get an opportunity to see Vince Vaughn kind of break out of that role and just do, like I enjoyed him very much in The Cell. I liked him in that. Him and D'Onofrio. Him and D'Onofrio were both great. D'Onofrio typically playing, unique characters, but not a character like that. And then Vince Vaughn playing the straight late, the detective. There wasn't a hint of humor there. More of a sardonic kind of like, I'm not really like, calloused by the job, but I have a very kind of like, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Sardonic works. But that's, I like that, where he didn't have to play to that, he didn't have to play to that stereotype. And I love it when actors do that. That's how we get some of the best stuff, like, Denzel, Training Day, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, let us know. Week in Horror.
weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Oh God, yes. We can Let's put in the comment section. Fuck it. There it is. Boom, right on the screen.
There you go. I put it on
comments, feedback. Email us at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Oh, we're all fancy now.
I can create banners and shit. It's fucking amazing.
So I guess now it's JL's turn. What do we got up next, JL?
It is my turn, and I'm bringing up this. It's so interesting that I actually didn't plan to be talking about this specific one, given the stuff that I normally do on my personal channel. But this is what I'm talking about. Released July 2nd, 2014. The movie is Deliver Us from Evil. So, directed by Scott Derrickson and written by Scott Derrickson and Paul Harris Boardman, based on Beware the Night by Ralph Sarchie and Lisa Collier-Cool, starring Eric Bana, Edgar Ramirez, Olivia Munn, Sean Harris, and Joel McHale. The film is roughly based on the book Beware the Night by former NYPD police detective Ralph Sarchie. The book collects what Sarchie describes to be as like supernatural experiences or supernatural calls that he went on, where he just really, really crazy stuff while he was a cop and while he was a detective. And then he retired shortly after, wrote the book, and now works pretty much as a freelance demonologist. That's what he does. Well, the rights to the book were optioned, and this movie was made, Deliver Us from Evil, purportedly based on true events. And one thing I have to say is that, as usual, the based on true events is a little bit is kind of fudged here, because the plot of the film, wherein the detective goes on and it uncovers this kind of like conspiracy of demons trying to bring more demons into the world and start overtaking the planet and everything and begin Armageddon, and he manages to stop it, was made up. The director and the writer made up that whole plot. That is not what the plot of the book is about. The book is just about Sarchie and what he thinks were like really creepy supernatural events that occurred while he was on the beat. But nonetheless, an entertaining film, and although a little ham-fisted in the third act, but not a bad way. Not a bad way to spend an hour and some odd minutes.
Every time I hear "Deliver Us from Evil," I think of that shitty scene in Spider-Man. Finish it. Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, the whole based on a true story thing, all that. Anytime you see that, anytime anybody sees that, the only thing you need to think of is that somewhere at some time there was a person named Ben. Boom, based on a true story. We're done.
Oh man!
I mean,
look at liberties were taken when as far as like what's true and what's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like if it stuck to probably like closer to the book, where like what actually happened, and didn't like go super into like the horror type thing. I think it would have been really cool, just like as a suspense, kind of thing. Like, what is all of this, kind of thing, without really going into like this supernatural horror type stuff, which stretched it, made for a good movie. But I think if you put like based on true events, and that, it kind of like, oh, okay, I could have, if I didn't know that and just go, oh yeah, no, this is cool. Then I dug the movie. I thought it was cool. The suspense was great. The action was great. Like the lions and the connection between, the character and the lions, and like, what is that about? And, I thought there was a lot of cool aspects of it. So, I give it a thumbs up.
I will say this, that while I thought there was a little bit of an over-reliance on jump scares, just a tad, and some of the timing was kind of there, I will say it makes up for the cinematography. The cinematography in this movie was fantastic, and the DP obviously held up his end of the bargain, because the use of light and shadow in this film was stunning. But man, they had to throw in as many jump scares as they could. And, once jump scares get to a point, especially when your timing is not right there, you start going like, okay, come on.
Yeah. There's a certain pacing, and there's actually an art form to a jump scare. And I'm the same way. Jump scares are fine, but when you have the over reliance on it, and it's so much, because a jump scare alone, it takes a craft to build it because you'll notice certain cues for a jump scare. So when a jump scare is about to happen, what's one of the first things you do? You have to drop the audio. So you'll have the music will drop off, the contextual sounds will drop off, the dialogue will lower, because what the filmmakers want you to do is to get your ears used to the whisper sound, so that when the stinger comes in with the jump scare, it hits harder on it. Because if the film was just loud and then the stinger came in, it's not as effective on it. And then or they'll add maybe a little something. So usually they'll use like a note that's like out of key. So you get the kind of thing, because what it does is when you hear something out of key, it makes you tense.
It makes you long for that resolution, and when that resolution ends and it's a fucking scary monster in your face, it's like it's exceptionally jarring.
They did that exactly with, most noticeably with the Jack in the Box, because the Jack in the Box, when she's playing with it, I mean, the tune of the Jack in the Box, the Pop Goes the Weasel is in tune, but when it's doing it itself and it's doing it slowly, it slowly kind of like goes off key. Yeah, and then that's what sets you up for that, to build that tension for the scary, the Jack, because Jack in the Boxes are fucking creepy, especially when it's in a dark room and dun 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 dun. It's like, what the fuck? So, although I will say that little owl thing, that is the worst stuffed animal ever. We just woohoo! That is creepy. I'm sorry. I found that the creepiest part of the movie was not the dude eating his own leg, and it wasn't like the crazy lady in the monkey enclosure. It's the fucking stuffed animal owl just woohoo. It's like, no, look at the eyes on that fucker. That thing is evil.
What were we talking about? I think we were talking about last episode where Annabelle. It was like, we were talking about Annabelle, and it was like, well, the modern Annabelle, like, who the fuck would even buy that doll? No, use the original Raggedy Ann doll, because it's all fluffy and fun. And then if you see that walking down the hallway by itself at night, it will scare the piss out of you.
Yeah. I walk into an Annabelle film and I'm looking at this, who buys this for a child? What is this thing?
Who buys this for an adult? Why would you buy that fucking doll? I think it's stupid. It's not even funny.
Kill it with fire!
Or a sledgehammer or something. But so there's a couple of good points made in the side chat talking about the number of jump scares, and the over-reliance on jump scares doesn't give you the ability. What makes an effective jump scare, and you can have a really effective jump scare, like Eugene's talking about, you set the tone and you build the suspense, but if they're happening like every other fucking scene, you can't, there's no like release, there's no relax. You have to lull your audience into a sense of, okay, we can relax a little bit now before, you know what I mean? But this movie doesn't do that. It's like, oh, hey, we're going to fucking punch you in the gut. Here comes again. All right, we just keep doing it. So they don't allow us to relax a little bit. That's where a good placed tension breaking like comedy piece works in these films. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be like silly comedy. Somebody can come in and make some kind of comedic relief to kind of, all right, cool, we can relax now. No, you can't, because here it is. Here's the horror again.
Here's another one. And one of the things I actually wouldn't mind seeing more is the really unexpected. Like, you have that formula I was talking about that happens with most jump scares. One of my favorite jump scares is Insidious, where you have Patrick Wilson sitting there, yeah. And they're having a conversation. It's broad daylight.
Yeah.
So, and you're not having it's not like they're going into, they're coming to a creepy aspect. No, they're just sitting there talking. Boom! All of a sudden you see his face right behind Patrick Wilson. Yeah. And it's like, that got me, because I was not expecting in the middle of the day, regular conversation. Like that.
I can throw it out there. Exorcist 3.
Oh, yeah.
I think, in my opinion, king of all jump scares.
And the thing that makes that one the most effective for me is the fact that it's not a jump scare to the audience, right? It's not something going to the audience. It's something you see happen across the screen.
Technically, the audience comes to the jump scare.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
So there's something that happens. It's something that happens in the distance, and you get brought up to it instead of something gets brought up to you, like in The Nun or all this other bullshit where it's way over here and all of a sudden, you know what I mean. So I think that's what made that one effective, or just overly effective. It was different.
Yes, Man Devil. That scene with the
with the nurse.
I mean, because it's literally, I've watched that scene a number of times, and I'd love to get Kyle's take on this as well, because I've watched that scene a number of times, and the timing on it is so utterly brilliant. It is almost, I find it so difficult because to prepare myself for that, because the cinematography there lulls you into such complacency. She's so casual when she's moving between the rooms. She's checking the room, turning off the light, close the door. It's just going about her business. And then, bam, it's right fucking there. And it gets me every time. I'll either or I'll cringe, or I'll be like, oh, shit, I wasn't expecting it. And it just got me. I don't know why. King of jump scares. Go ahead.
I think that's got to be the key to it is just making it so that there's no something that's been done before. It's just like Eugene was saying with bringing the sound down and like preparing people for it. It's like the car accidents that happen that they're just driving down the street, and it happens in many movies. And there's having a conversation, you don't see it coming, then like wham, you see glass everywhere and they're in a car accident and what the hell just happened. It's like that kind of shock out of nowhere. That's kind of like what you want to aim for with those jump scares, where you really don't see it. There's no lead up, and that's where it comes from. So I think that it's like, as filmmakers, we have to find ways to get out of the ways that things have been done before. So like surprise yourself, and that's how you'll surprise the audience.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I agree. Absolutely on that.
Well, that was, one thing I could say, and obviously they throw in the thing, inspired by real events or however it was like this. I honestly think that hurt the film a little bit more, just because, at this point, I'm 41. I've seen enough horror films. I was like, oh, inspired by real events, then it's not going to be it cheapens
that, right?
it. Yeah, exactly.
The film, it makes it like, oh, come on, you're trying to insert scariness of the real world into your film. That means like, go fuck yourself. Like,
they're trying to Blair Witch it. And Blair Witch
exactly, yeah.
On him, but
and that's what I thought. I mean, honestly, and even then, I mean, you could tell, because the plot can only go so far. You get this conclusion, and it got so, and honestly, it got so ham-handed in the third act. It becomes the whole big oh, he's an atheist, and he's a theist, and justification for, and then God and blah blah blah, and all this other stuff, and then I'm sorry, then all of a sudden then it just was so on the nose. It was kind of like, is this the best we could possibly do in a third act? I kept expecting. I've seen so many horror films. I was expecting kind of like, subvert the genre. This is where we're expecting it to go, and it went exactly there. It was formula by the book. It was, you open up the filmmaking textbook and you go to chapter 23, which is about religious horror filmmaking. This is what it was. Yeah. And I kept expecting, come on, subvert the genre, go in a direction we didn't expect. Let the good guy be,
be a fucking comedy musical, something
like this. But unfortunately, just didn't go in the direction. I simply will say that the talent was obviously there. The work with light and shadow, the way individuals were lit, this particular thing. I mean, they didn't even need jump scares to make this one creepy and effective. I honestly think the jump scares kind of took away from it, especially when you're dealing with this type of subject matter. Because I'm sorry, if you want to say based on real events, demons aren't jumping up in people's faces, like this, all the time, where you're looking, it's like, it doesn't happen. So,
dude, I don't know, man. I don't know. I live in Hollywood, bro. You should come. You'll see some shit.
I have seen shit that will turn you white.
Well, if there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say.
Yeah. It's funny that you brought up The Exorcist and talking about the whole based on true events and all this shit. The Exorcist itself was based on a story, a new story that came out about this kid, this young boy that went through an exorcism. But the movie itself didn't say, hey, this is based on real events. They just took inspiration from that news article or the news story and made an awesome film about it. It was scary as shit. They didn't have to say, hey, well, this stuff really happened. Oh, scary. Ooh. You know, they let the story tell itself and let the story be frightening for itself without the added, oh, this is real, guys. This really happens.
Yeah, if your story isn't scary enough by itself, if you have to put based off of true events, you need to reevaluate the story.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, just being straightforward.
So yeah, take a look at what was it, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, based on true events. Like, this movie sucks. It's not scary.
I thought Jennifer Carpenter did rather well in that movie, to be honest.
Just because she can contort herself all kinds of weird doesn't mean it's a good scary movie.
Okay,
that is true.
I'll give it that. Absolutely. All right. Well, one thing I want to ask the audience. So when you hear about a movie, when a movie is coming out and says inspired by true events, does that put you off on it? Is that a no, or is that a yes? Do you do those kind of movies? Do you dig those the most, or do you just like, does it kind of take you away from it because you know it's probably not going to be any way real? Let us know. I'd like to know in the live chat, and of course down in the comments below, or hit us up at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Remember, Alex just had a baby, the first Week in Horror production baby. Just had a new little girl who was born a few days ago, so he is doing the new dad, or this is his fourth kid, so I guess he's used to it now, doing the dad thing, and hopefully he will be back soon. But he needs reading material, when he's woken up at 3:00 in the morning. So shoot us up, weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Shoot us up, huh?
Shoot us up.
Yeah, shoot us up.
That's what we want to tell people. Shoot us up. Fucking hell.
I do my best, man. Come on.
I'm just busting.
These are just the word ain't right now, man.
Look at what I'm working with here. Eugene.
No, fucking bullets come running by my house tonight. I'm very upset.
Eugene, what do we got next, man? What's our last one?
All right, our last one, which is a newer film, by the way. We have Relic, released July 3rd, 2020. And it was directed by Natalie Erica James. And I'll go ahead and add, produced by Jake Gyllenhaal. And then starring Emily Mortimer, Robin Nevin, and Bella Heathcote on it. Yay!
That's two.
I have to
2 in one show.
Congratulations, man.
I've been practicing. It's only taken me 2 years.
You're setting the bar really high for yourself for
I know.
the future.
I'm trying to get the easy film. Work up to the easy films that you get.
Eugene gets this is directed by Jail's like, directed by
Yes,
Bob Smith, starring.
Unfortunately, Mr. Malord, this is not the Relic. It is just Relic. So not the Stan Winston monster movie in the museum. This is Relic, which I'll let Eugene give the nutshell on it.
Yeah, so basically what ends up happening is you got Edna, who ends up going missing for a while, and then she ends up coming back, and you have basically dark forces that she kind of brought with her on it, which has some great creepiness to it. And like I said, shit gets real. It does. It's interesting. Yes. I was really of all the films out this week, I was the most fascinated about this one. I really, really was. And some interesting things I want to get into, but definitely you are correct. Super creepy, and it was a very fascinating movie. And I'd love to hear, Kyle, your thoughts on this, because this was a fairly recent one that came out, while we were all fucking locked down in the pandemic.
Yeah, you know what? It was totally fascinating, and I have this is a little inside baseball, or what I think that the movie was really about. Mm-hmm. And maybe this takes it, but to me, it was about going into the grandmother's mind as she is deteriorating and with whatever disease she has. And I was like, is this Alzheimer's? Am I watching a movie about Alzheimer's? And like what is actually happening with this person and the deterioration of herself through the whole film. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then as it ends with like the three women together, you know, kind of like youngest to oldest, it's like this is like the progression of life. It's like that's kind of what I saw in the film. So it was like, I don't know if they meant to do that, but it's like that's what I got out of it. And it was like kind of the descent into chaos and confusion and like what's happening and is this really happening, and the fear, everyone's fear, you know, throughout it. So it was like it was really deep. And I don't know if for me, so I don't know if they meant for that to happen. What do you think? Am I just kind of like was I tripping or like,
well, yeah,
what do you think?
But
No, I had the exact same response. I actually had two responses because yes, I do agree that the film very much for me was I was like, this is a metaphor for, you know, obviously Alzheimer's or dementia or
aging
or old age. Yeah, just the deterioration of the body and the mind. But and I got the sensation that the house was the grandmother's mind. Is that this is what the slowly decaying, slowly falling apart, slowly becoming. Yeah, but then there was the scene when Sammy gets trapped in the house and can't find her way out, and it becomes, and all of a sudden, what started out as a closet space, as like a recessed closet space, became this dark, shadowy, dusty, grimy labyrinth, unnavigatable labyrinth of the home. You know, with you know dusty memories thrown about all over the place, with no care or concern, with absolute chaos, and she's running about in this, trying to frantically, make sense of what is going on and try to handle this. And what I got was that was the personification of having to, and this sounds awful, but of having to deal with someone going through this, because she is being forced to navigate the kind of landscape of the person who is deteriorating. That you're in a familiar place. You know you're in the house. You know the person. This is the person they are, but the person is unfamiliar. Their mind has become chaotic. It is a labyrinth that you can't navigate, and it just leads to frustration and anger, and you lash out and you break down because emotionally you see the person right there in front of you. You recognize them, but that's not who they are anymore. Their mind is deteriorating, and it is absolutely horrible. And as Bella is, her character Sammy is running through these halls, she goes through these emotions. She breaks down. She loses all drive. She just sits and cries. She gets up. She fights. She gets angry. She lashes out against the walls. She panics, and that was, I can imagine. While a lot of people will compartmentalize that, that's what they internalize when dealing with the terror and the frustration of someone who is deteriorating. And so I thought it was like both sides of it. It was not only her daughter and her granddaughter dealing with this and how they were internalizing it, but also the grandmother's mind. You're in the place, you're familiar here, you're comfortable here, but it is slowly rotting around you. Things don't begin to make sense. You start seeing things, and then the shadowy figure that was constantly there throughout the whole thing was, in essence, the looming fate of what eventually would come for her.
I got not something completely different, but I got something a little bit different in that I thought this was more about this character's realization that this was her future.
Yeah.
Emma
Kay's realization.
Like she's going through this she's seeing dementia or old age, or the aging process through her grandmother's eyes. Yet she's realizing that this is my future, and I'm trying to navigate this. And it kind of, like in the shadowy figures. This is what you're going to go through. By the way, this is your future.
And they kind of like went and showed a little bit of that by that what looked like the black fog or whatnot, and then you saw like that little piece of the black kind of on the back of her shoulder.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Oh,
you caught
yeah.
that, but it's like
It's on your
she's
back.
got it too. Like it's
Yeah.
happening, you know.
When the daughter
Yeah.
and the recognition, that moment when as a child you recognize, because I mean, obviously there's a separation there, there's a generational gap. Yeah, I mean, she's watching this happen to her grandmother, but her grandmother's not who she spent all of her time with. She spent the time with her mother.
Mhm.
And so there's a unique relationship there with mother and daughter and mother and daughter. And so as Emily Mortimer embraces the fact that this is what is happening and is able to come to terms with it and I guess assist her mother in moving on, then Sammy comes to the realization that her mother Kay, it's going to happen to her too. And it's that realization when it dawns on you, your parents are not immortal, they're not going to live forever, and you really internalize it for the first time that they're just people and this is going to happen to them and you are going to have to deal with this. And that's very scary, which is, you know, invariably what it leads to, that we're all eventually going to have to deal with this. And that, with that in mind, this thing hit me in a way I was not expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eugene. Go ahead.
Absolutely, because there's something. It's just about the mind. The mind, to me, is one of the most brilliant, but also could be one of the most terrifying things because we rely on it so much. And once it starts to deteriorate, and you're losing who you are. It's just things that are familiar all of a sudden become strange, and it could be so gradual. And the person going through Alzheimer's doesn't even realize it. It's just all of a sudden, It's just, I don't recognize this room anymore. Why did I go to the kitchen? I'm staying in the kitchen now. Why did I even go here? And it's just it has this kind of just terrifying fact to it because the body deteriorating, that's one thing. The body, if I end up losing the ability to walk or something, I'm just in a wheelchair for whatever reason, that's just part of life. But I couldn't imagine all of a sudden losing who you are. All those memories that you have that makes you who you are, all of a sudden gone.
Well, not necessarily gone. They just don't. You don't recognize them. They're still there, but you don't know why they're there. Which is what the haunting. That's like the haunting part about your memory.
It's that moment in the woods though, when she's out there with the photo album and like that, and she has that, and she's doing what she's doing. Obviously, I don't want to spoil it for two people who haven't seen it, but like that, there's that moment when she's out there in the woods with Emily Mortimer, and she's asking, "Where did everyone go?" Because she had so many people in her life. And when you're in that stage, when you're in those late stages, unfortunately, and my deepest sympathies go out to anybody who has encountered this or had to deal with it in their lives, time becomes irrelevant because memories come and go. Like it'll literally be one moment, it's 40 years in the past. And the expectation that someone should be coming home shortly, but then they never do. But then all of a sudden, you get the lucid moments where they're back with you. But then when they jump around through time like that, when memories become chaotic and scattered, just as they were in the house, just everywhere, and you kind of touch on them and pick up on them, and you're like, oh wow, look at this memory. I haven't thought about this in forever. Then you set the picture down, and then that memory is gone. In that respect, and when she has that moment, when she's staring her daughter in the face and asking, where did everybody go, as though she was talking to a stranger. And then looking at her when she sees you preparing dinner for her, doesn't know who she is. That is absolutely terrifying. And differently from the movie we just talked about, where it's not really inspired by true events, this one deeply metaphorical about something that eventually affects us all to some degree, which I think inherently makes it more scarier.
Yeah, that's definitely that dread, right? That slow burn dread throughout this whole film, which is what I love. I love psychological horror films. I'm not a huge. I mean, I like the slasher stuff and whatever because they're just fun. But when it comes to a good film that can get me in, that psychological horror film is where it's at because of that slow dread, that slow burn, and I think this movie does a fantastic job scaring the shit out of you while letting you know that hey, this is a potential future for you. You want to talk about based on real events? There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes this film more scary. It's like what I was talking about the story. If you have to put based on true events on your story to make it scary, then you need to reevaluate your story. This film doesn't need it at all. It's like, no, here's just a story, and you go, oh shit.
Yeah. This one sang it with me. Especially when she was running about, I was like, okay, this went in a strange. Because I'm sitting here watching it, and all of a sudden she's lost in the house. She's running about. I was like, wait, this went like Daniel Lazuski. This went House of Leaves. I was like, oh, wait a minute, no, it's her grandmother. It's her grandmother's mind. This is what it is like. This is the personification. And I mean, come on, the set design, absolutely brilliant. The art direction on this just blew me away. That was haunting and terrifying, and not and I say not a drop of gore anywhere. This wasn't a gory movie. Doesn't need to be.
You know what? If another thing, I don't think there was a guy in the film.
Other than the neighbor kid.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, you want to talk about women in film? It's like, if I don't know how many women are in the podcast right now, but this is one to go look at because this is amazing, and like hats off to everyone who was a part of that film. It was really, really cool.
Really powerful movie, and it's strongly recommended. It'll take you to something. I love these kinds of movies. It was very similar. Another one that hit me very similarly was the movie Heartless with Jim Sturgis and Timothy Spall. And that one got me because it not only examines the kind of persona of an outcast, someone who believes he is an outcast because he was born with a Portweinstein on his face. So he's kind of like, people look at him, stare at him. This has been his life. But also the relationship with an outcast and an outcast's father, because the father looking and saying like, I can't do this for I wish I could take away the pain and protect you from this, but he can't. And then going into that one struck me so hard. That was a deep horror film, like a straight horror film. But this one goes up there definitely in those emotional horror films that will kind of rock you a bit and sit with you for a couple of days. This one's up there. But definitely the metaphorical horror, especially when it's an examination of something that we deal with on a way. This is what I think, honestly, and I'd love to get everybody's opinion on this. This is what horror really is about. What the genre itself is about is allowing us the catharsis to deal with things that we cannot readily deal with in everyday life. We see the kind of personification of the traumas or the terrors or the fears of society broadcast on the screen in a way that makes them palatable, in a way that we can kind of internalize them and slowly begin to deal with them on a personal level. Obviously, if the movie like Saw doesn't, it's not like, oh, there's a killer out there who's going to put me in a trap. No, it's not. But it's about dealing with the things that upset you or the things that you see are injustices in the world. And it allows you to kind of like internalize that cathartically and just kind of like, and have that release so you don't have that weighing on you. These are the types of movies that the strong metaphors like this, I think, is what the horror genre was really made for.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely, this is the trend right now. If we're talking about elevated horror or intelligent horror, this is absolutely the trend. When you look at Babadook, that deals with grief. You look at Midsummer, that deals with grief and how it can affect your mental state. And this is where we are going in terms of right now. There will always be blood, guts, and gore and horror film. That's just something that will always be made. But in terms of right now, that intelligent horror, where we're taking different aspects of our psyche and putting it in horror form.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, ultimately, that's what horror has always kind of been about. But now I think they're getting more, I don't want to say more metaphorical with it, but they're definitely getting more visceral with it. So they're really kind of expanding on the metaphor side of it, not so much the the realization.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense right there or not, but
Viscephorical.
Yes.
I like that. And yes, Man Devil says, yes, JL, good horror lets us experience uncomfortable emotions as a kind of preparation for similar emotions in real life. And I would agree.
Yep.
It gives us the ability to kind of compartmentalize things, to kind of experience things in a way that we are able to deal with them. Or if we are currently internalizing something that is causing us conflict or cognitive dissonance or some level of stress or anxiety, horror films can allow us to work through those depending upon which one you're watching. There are ones that it's such a plentiful genre and it's constantly evolving and adapting, which is why we love it so much. There's always something for everyone. And whether it's a television show or a movie or something old or classic or modern, doesn't matter. There's something for everybody. And yeah, we can get that cathartic experience through it. We can internalize these really, sometimes internalize the darkness so we can deal with it in a better way. And that's what I am. That's why I love this genre so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I would like to ask the audience, do you enjoy metaphorical horror? On it, when we talk, we've already mentioned films like The Relic and some of these others that have come out recently. Do you enjoy metaphorical horror on it? And if you do, tell us some of your favorite ones. And if you don't, then just tell us why you don't like them. That's perfectly fine. So, but definitely let us know in the comments below or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Awesome.
I enjoy them. That's all I'll say.
I do. I love it.
I do.
Yeah. I think it's the most fun of all the horror films. Well, not the most fun, but it's the most enjoyable. The ones that make you think.
Charlie Welch says metaphorical horrors are more expensive. we have the greatest, the absolute greatest live chat of any podcast. I firmly believe our people are absolutely amazing. All right, Johnny, it's about that time.
Is it that time?
It's that time. It's the only reason these people watch this show.
That's true. And I think Chris Durham already gave us the answer, though.
He did. Chris Durham did. What was it? It was when Chris Durham came in. He because one of our supporters always tries to predict what the answer will be, and I can't. Where did he go? It's been such a minute.
Yeah,
scrolled.
It's way up there. All right, so here's today's trivia question, and the winner, because apparently this is a very difficult question, but the winner of today's trivia will get a limited edition coffee mug and T-shirt.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
I wanted to give two things away because this is a particularly tough one. So, Sarcasm says Vincent Price. A little early, but
we said a hard trivia question.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
All right. So everybody get your Google Woo, Google Foo, or whatever the fuck you got to do to figure this question out. Everybody ready? Here we go. Mark Holton, who played the slow-witted Ozzy in the first Leprechaun film, also portrayed Francis Boston, the arch nemesis to what beloved 80s icon?
I know this one's a little bit tougher than usual, and I wanted to make sure. That's why we're giving away two items: mug, and shirt. So you get a Kink Shaming Cannibal shirt and the limited edition stylized mug, courtesy of our in-house artist Joshua Olson, who does amazing work. Love him to death. Cannot wait to debut the season 3 artwork he did for us. I think you guys are going to love it. But yes, go and give it another read.
All right, one more time. Mark Holton, who played the slow-witted Ozzy in the first Leprechaun film, also portrayed Francis Buxton, the arch nemesis to what beloved 80s icon? I think Mr. Malore has it.
Nope, that would be Sarcasm.
Sarcasm. I'm sorry,
Sarcasm. Congratulations. We had so many different answers.
No. Wait, you said Sarcasm. I have Charlie Welch. Charlie Welch is first.
Well, let me see. Charlie Welch. I've got hang on a second. I've got Sarcasm as first on mine, and I got Mr. Malort immediately after him.
Yeah, because I have Mr. Malort said Crocodile Dundee, then Charlie Welch said Pee Wee Herman, then Sarcasm Pee Wee Herman.
Where's Crocodile? Was that? Did I miss it? Well, hang on a second. Crocodile Dundee?
Yeah, well, that was what Mr. Malort said, and then Charlie Welch said afterwards Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, even Sarcasm said he was second.
Why am I not seeing it?
I don't see it either.
Hang on a second. Mr. Malord said Pee Wee. Sarcasm said Pee Wee. Mr. Malord said Crocodile. Okay, this is what I have in order. Mr. Malord said Crocodile Dundee. Then Sarcasm said Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, even Sarcasm saying that Charlie Welch answered first.
Charlie Welch get it?
On the live chat in the Charlie Welch is first.
Yeah,
Charlie Welch is first. Oh, my bad.
Everybody's saying Charlie. Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I'm looking at the screen and I'm not seeing Charlie's commented there. There's something going on with the thing. That's so wild. Thank you, audience, for catching that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Congratulations, Charlie Welch. And we had some amazing answers in there anyway. We had Vincent Price, obviously. We had Judy Garland. We had La Chienne Andalusian. We had Neil Brain, Buster Crab, He-Man, Crocodile Dundee, Charlie Welch. Oh, no. That was Charlie Welch. They were telling me who won. So, dang, I apologize. Charlie Welch, congratulations, Charlie. The man you never make a bet with on the internet. You have won a limited edition number 3 shirt and a limited edition coffee mug from Week in Horror. So we will get those printed out and sent out to you as soon as possible. Dang, I don't know why that didn't show up. Is there a way I can change that?
I don't know, but it doesn't show up on mine either. So
private chat, no. Settings, no. I have no clue. Maybe I need to refresh.
It showed up on everybody's in the audience.
Okay, well, at least Eddie, the audience has got my back, so I appreciate that. Charlie Welch, congratulations, thank you so much. So sorry, sarcasm. My bad. I feel like I called out Moonlight. You know, it's like I fucked up. It's like, oh, so bad, but awesome. Well, man, oh man, thank you so much again for joining us, Kyle. It has been an absolute blast having you on the show. Now, I want to ask, is there anything coming up for you or any social media that you'd like to let our audience know about real quick?
Yeah, well, I'm just in the middle of doing the post-production on Preacher 6, but you can find me on @KyleD.Hester on Twitter, and I'm basically a Twitter guy, so that is where you can find me, and I answer DMs, so just happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. Fantastic.
All right.
And of course, for everybody out there, especially for our patrons, you get early access. Kyle will be joining us for our After Dark session, which will go early access for the patrons, and of course, a month later for everybody else. But if you'd like to hear Kyle's thoughts on the genre, on his career, and pretty much anything we decide to talk about when we nerd out with Kyle directly, be sure to check that out. Links are down in the description.
Hey, you know what? Let me just say something, because I know that everybody, when you say join the Patreon. But to people watching this right now, join the fucking Patreon, because this is how these things happen, and this is how you keep shows like this alive, and this is how independent film is going to stay alive. So if you got the $3, join the Patreon, and so that's my plug for you guys. But it's that's really the only way that we're going to keep all this going in this crazy time, is for us all to support each other. So there you have it.
Awesome. Absolutely. Oh,
yep.
I'm getting a little misty. I appreciate that. Well, and it can be said, and just with the current thing we have going on with the Nail Gun Massacre remake, that whole project wouldn't have happened were it not for the people that support this show. We're almost neck deep in a full feature length remake of this. We got the proof of concept done. Solely because of the interest and support generated by our amazing audience. So, we owe them just as much. And you guys, everybody out there, you all make this show happen, and we love you guys for it. And and as we continue making stuff, and we continue making films and having projects going on, we want to involve you guys in that, because you guys help us do it. So, yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Kyle. Land the plug. I'm gonna cry.
Boom.
All right. Well, that brings another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you all so much for listening, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week when we discuss The Rejuvenator, Phantasm 2, The Beach House, and The Hollow. We'd also like to shout out to our amazing patrons who have helped us make the show a success it has become. Thank you so much. Visit us at weekinhorror.net, where you can find links to our episodes, our bios, our merch store at Teespring, and of course, enter your email for a permanent entry to win a mystery shirt every month, courtesy of $6shirts.com. For more horror entertainment, be sure to check out our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where followers get our daily splatter, a bit of horror information every day right to your feed. You never know what new horrors you might discover. If it's your first time here, be sure to subscribe and smash that bell like a zombie's head for all the latest from the show. We really hope you enjoyed the new live format, and we love to get your feedback. Be sure to leave us a comment below, as the interactions really help us with the dreaded algorithm.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. And lastly, if you truly love what we do here and you would like and are able to support our production, you can through our Patreon. We have subscriber tiers as low as $1. You'll get bonus and exclusive content and horror films every month from our highest tiers. However, if you prefer, you can support the show straight through our PayPal as well. Links to everything, including our Discord community, where you can find film recommendations, trailers, trivia games, horror watch parties, and even interact directly with us, are in the description. And while the country is fully beginning to recover from recent events, we know that things are still pretty tight for many people. As always, simply commenting, liking, and sharing the show with your friends and your local horror community is the absolute best way to help us continue to grow. We appreciate each and every one of you for being the greatest audience a podcast could have. And I'm Eugene.
I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Do it.
You did.
I did. I wasn't looking at the script, Eugene.
I was flawless.
I tell you what. We'll fix it in post.
Well said. Well said.
So take two. I'm Eugene.
I'm Johnny O.
And I'm JL.
We'll see you next week. And as always, stay scared.
Don't.
I'm such a fucking idiot.